Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Cinco de Mayo, Monday, May 5th, 2025. Hope you're all enjoying your day. And if you celebrate Cinco de Mayo, enjoy it. I don't necessarily celebrate Cinco de Mayo or Cinco de Junio or any of those. And, it's another day. So, if you do, that's great. If not, hey, welcome to the live chat, right? So many of you come here and see me do this. I do it on Monday nights at 7 o'clock, and as I've said in the past, we try to talk about classic cars as much as we can. And when I say classics, I note that as between 55 and about 1985, 86, somewhere in that range. That's what I consider my classic car bracket. Now, what's interesting about that, as we think about time, and I'm not going to go into some political thing where some former presidential candidate goes into this long spiel about time is relevant to the things that we do and see and blah, blah. No, time is very relatable. So right now it is 2025, right? So that means any car made in 2000 in the state of Georgia is considered a classic, like antique. You can register it as an antique, something made in 2000. Back that up a little bit, and you start thinking 95, 85, which was 40 years ago. 40 years ago. And if you go back to 55, right? It just boggles the mind how much that time has sped through, or just zoomed past us. I'm a Gen Xer. I was born in '67, and when I hear people talking about the classic cars or something like that, and they're talking about a mid '80s Camaro or something, I'm just like, wait, what? What? That doesn't make sense. But as long as they're interested, and as long as they're actually doing something with them, that's fantastic. But it's just hard to imagine. I forget what the scale is. Somebody said if you went from the timeline of back when the movie Back to the Future, which was 1955, and we are now, I don't know, I don't even want to do the math, 70 years past that, as far as that time period. Time just marches on. We can't stop it. There's nothing we can do about it. So, anyway, it's been a pretty good weekend and a pretty good day. The temperature has been currently at 68 degrees, and humidity's down. And some of you may have seen that I posted on my Facebook page that we finally got our carport up over the RV. And I kind of want to rant about that in a way. The company we went through was Allen's Factory Outlet, and apparently they try to arrange to have multiple projects all done on the same day, and I get that. If you've got an installer coming, he doesn't want to drive 3 or 4 hours just to put up your building. They want to have 5 or 6 or 7 buildings to put up. So they had me do a deposit. January 20th, I ordered this thing. They had contacted me once and said, "Hey, are you ready for this?" And I said, "If I say I'm ready, what does that mean?" And they said, "Oh, it'll be 3 weeks." That was back in February when they said, "Are you ready?" I said, "I am ready." And it took until this past week, Wednesday, for them to show up and start the installation. And then it was a fiasco from there. Pieces missing, having the guy had to scramble and go get parts from, whatever, had to meet the supplier. And Allen's Factory Outlet gets their parts from Carolina Carports. So you're going through several layers of people to get this stuff done. And there was a multitude of problems, but they started on it on Wednesday, came back Saturday to finish it. And so I'm just happy I have my carport. RV cover. Every time it rains, I would stress out over it because I don't want it to be, exposed more than it needs to be. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. I'll probably post a video of that whole process on my other channel, Joe Daddy's Workshop. One other thing I want to express to you, I pointed out how much last week's conversation was YouTube is not the end all be all for me. It's not going to be the answer for everything that I do. And I have pointed out that I have patrons that support me, and I thank them so much for that. But there's also a new thing that I posted. It's in the description box down below. It is like a tip jar, and it is set up with PayPal. If and when you get some information, you feel, hey, this was beneficial to me, I'm going to give him some money, blah, blah, blah. That's how you do it. That's an easy way to tip the channel and tip me for what I'm doing. But I want to just say thank you to all my patrons who are with me and helping me, make this happen. So, okay, that's enough of the overview of what's going on, and we're going to see who's here tonight. First one in, new first timer, even though Betty has been here before. This is her first time. She's been the first one to the chat. And Betty Keithley says, hi, Barry. We hope you had a great week. Having warmer weather, which is nice. Have a wonderful show tonight. Be safe. And she expresses that with the cats in her little description there. So thank you, Betty. Dave Tyson, good evening all. Dave's always here on time, it seems. Welcome, Dave. Richard Vogel, good evening, Barry, from rainy Long Island. Well, welcome, Richard. And you can keep the rain for now. We've had enough. I know there's more on the way, but yeah, we don't need any right now. Terry Keithley, good evening, everyone in Barry. Please hit the thumbs up and like button. Thank you kindly, Terry and Betty and the cats. Yes, thank you, Terry. That's an important thing. That like button, leave a comment, whatever. That lets YouTube know that people are actually watching this. Steve Reed, hello, Barry and everyone. Hope everyone's doing great, and don't forget to give Barry a thumbs up for his great work and information and great work he does. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And I want to say Paducah, Kentucky, just because. That's where Steve's from. Robert, the Infernal Craftsman, evening all. Evening, Robert. Robert has some interesting projects going on at his place. Travis Holtman, good evening all. Finally welded the passenger one-piece side on... Finally welded the passenger one-piece side on the one-piece floor on my 69 Mustang. Used the new R Captain 205 MP Pro. Works awesome. That's good to hear, Travis. Travis, I have to say, you are now number 2. You're number 2. You're no longer the number 1 patron. So I'm glad you're here, though. I do appreciate it. David, the bowler hat guy. Hello, all. Good evening, Barry. Evening, David. Roger, Hindsight 6'7". Greetings from next door. Greetings, Raj. Glad you're here. You made your... I redid the video of us working on that Dodge truck back years ago. So there's some live action of you spraying paint or clear coat on the doors on that Dodge. So that was kind of fun to see again. Nandu, good evening, Barry and everyone. Hope you're doing good. Thank you, sir. And I believe Nandu is up in Pennsylvania. Amateur Auto Restorations, evening all. Evening, sir. Glad you're here. Troy Justit, happy Monday from coastal Georgia. Let's get our chat on. Yes, sir. And it looks like Travis may be Troy may be giving me a visit sometime in the near future. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Rusty's Restoration, happy Cinco de Mayo. Hello, Barry, and all from Southern Indiana. Hope all is going well. Everyone give a thumbs up. Yes, thank you, sir. TJ, good evening, everyone. Shout out from East Dublin, Georgia. Old soldiers never die, we just fade away. Yeah, pretty accurate. Hope the VA treated you well, Barry. Scouts out Recon 19 Delta U.S. Army retired U.S. Well, thank you for your service, sir. I say sir. I know. You worked for a living, right? I'm assuming you were enlisted and not an officer. But at this point, I'm getting some physical therapy for my knee. that's the effort at this moment. So I will say my knee has somewhat improved over the past month or so, and I'm getting physical therapy. And that I have to. The only thing is I have to drive like, I don't know, it's 25 miles south of here to get that taken care of. Very nice facility. I have no complaints. They treated me very well. You know, you hear good and bad about the VA system, and the only drawbacks that I've found are my travel, where I have to go to get get stuff done. But overall, I get treated very well, so I have no complaints about the process. But thank you for being here. Marine, I do not celebrate Cinco de Mayo, just another day to work, and I love my family. Yeah, I agree. It's, I've made the joke before with other people. It's de Septembre, Cinco de Octobre, whatever it is. Just, it's a kind of another made-up holiday, right? Jerry is checking in. Howdy, Barry. Howdy, y'all. Robert had mayo on his burgers tonight. That is about as close as we come to celebrating and have a good chat, y'all. Thank you. And that's close enough. That is close enough. Denny Alvey. Good evening, Barry. Hello from Paducah, Kentucky. Working on the 65 Fastback tonight. That's awesome. Keep that up. The Marine. I've had my 65 Fastback for over 30 years, and it's now 60 or so years old. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah. You know, along with that, thinking about this time and timeline, the Model A that I have, which was my grandfather's car, is a 1931. That means it's 94 years old. 94 years old. That's just hard to imagine. You know, these cars, they were built out of real metal, right? A lot of cast iron, a lot of heavy steel, and a lot of them were scrapped over a time period. You know, during the war effort, they would haul these things in and make stuff out of them. And you look at the numbers. I know there were millions of Model Ts produced. I don't know how many Model As were produced, but there was probably millions of those too. The working man's cars. And I was just thinking about this the other day. I haven't had that car out in probably I would say at least 4 years. And I feel bad. I want to get that car out and drive it around, take my grandson and granddaughter for a ride in it. They've never ridden in it. I think that would be fun. But, it's 94 years old. Just remarkable when you think about some of the stuff that still exists. Hey, Matco Man. Hello, everybody. Hello, sir. Glad you're here. Black GTX, Mark. Hey, all. I hope everyone is having a great Monday. Thank you, sir. Nandu is in PA is same way. Any vehicle 25 or older can be registered as an antique. That can save you money. It can. It can save you money. Mr. Mikey tuned in from south of San Antonio, getting a light rain. Greetings to all. Bienvenidos. Whatever that means. Good night. I don't know. Good evening. Norris Net checking in. Hey, Barry. Hope all is well. Glad you're here, Jeff. Nice to see you. Or talk to you. Michael Pagliarini. Hello, evening all from Rhode Island. Who would you rather see in concert? Stained or Creed? Metallica. I don't know that I don't even know what, I have to be honest, I don't even know what Stained plays. I probably heard songs, but I couldn't go, oh, that's a song by Stained. I don't know. Creed, I know a few of their songs. Not a lot. I've heard a few of their songs. So I just have to say Creed because I don't even know I couldn't say what Stained plays. But if given a third choice of Metallica, I would take that. And they're coming to Atlanta, by the way. So, thank you, Michael. I don't know. Rust Revisited. First timer here. Hi, everyone. Well, hello, Rust Revisited. I see you've got, looks like a Mustang on a jig. Looks like. Nice. Dawn's Manufacturer. Hello, folks. Hope everyone is in the okay column. How are you feeling today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Well, I'm about a 2.5. Terry Keithley, been trying to order gobs, no luck so far. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, sir. I don't know how to. I wish I had an option to give you a link that you can just order those things. Roger, I watched that video again. It was odd seeing me painting. I totally forgot that I painted on that truck. I just remembered me doing and redoing filler on that truck. Yeah, I don't remember. I didn't remember you painting it either. And there were things that I did. Of course, I've said this before. I've done so much to so many vehicles that I've forgotten many of them. I've just forgotten. That Dodge, I was like, really? We did that in that sequence? Okay. I've had friends who I've rebuilt their personal cars, collision stuff. Whether, I know I did one that was at the body shop, and then later on I did one for them here at this shop. And they've asked me, oh, do you remember this, doing this car? And I'm like, no. You don't remember blah, blah, blah? I'm like, nope. And even funnier is sometimes I have tried to research something, looking for an answer. And I've done a Google search. And I've had one of my videos pop up. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did do this before. But yeah, the truck turned out really good, actually. For what it was, that truck turned out pretty good. Rick Gaines, sorry, a little late tonight. Had to argue with the cable company on the phone. That's never a fun experience. Hope everybody is doing well. Glad you're here, Rick. And I will say, I had a bit of a panic mode right before I started tonight. So I use this camera up above. It's on my bench, sitting up high. It's a Logitech, whatever, HD, 1080, whatever it is. And it is a USB connection to the computer. So there's a USB block that I plug into, and it's a shared block. So the microphone plugs into that, and the camera plugs into that. I did a test to see if everything was running, and the camera wasn't coming up. It wasn't even coming up as an option. And I was like, oh no. The laptop camera was coming on, which is not a good camera to use for this, and it was coming on. So I didn't have the camera and I didn't have the microphone, and I was starting to panic because I don't want to use the microphone. It's on a laptop. It's terrible. So I ended up having to shuffle a bunch of plugs and recycle or reboot the live stream, and everything popped up. So I'm like, oh, well, that's good. So I understand. You don't want to argue with the cable company. I don't want to argue with anybody over this stuff. But whenever you have something here in front of you that doesn't work, now you start to stress over it, especially if it's something you need right now. So got to have your cable stuff working. I know that. Dave Conville, good evening from a very rainy New Jersey. Glad you're here, Dave. Dawn's Manufacturer. Yeah, old Betsy is 60 years old next month, and I've owned her for 54 years. That's pretty impressive, Dawn. Give you an extra bell for that. Jack W. Hello, Barry. Hello, Jack. Hope all is well. Art Man, evening from Minnesota. It's not cold. Well, that's a plus. So, oh, there's a good bell. Yeah, not cold. That's a good thing. Dave Conville, Model A production from 28 to 31, about 4.8 million. Think about that. 4.8 million Model A's in 4 years. That's 1.2 million per year. And that's just one manufacturer. That's amazing. And he also says Model T production, 07 to 27, 15 million. So really, The Model A, by terms of volume and time period, outsold the Model T. But the Model T was obviously everybody had one, at least one. But still, imagine that they're still functioning, today, if they're not turned into a hot rod already. Troy, this talk of 2000 car being an antique reminds me that I'm old. Thanks for that. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. Roger, I have a stained CD in my truck that my son gave me. So stained for me for sure. Between stained and Creed, Roger would take stained. I get it. I understand that. Rust Revisited 68 convertible. Have a lot of work to do in your library of how-to vids. Has been heaven sent. Thank you. Well, I'm glad they're helping you out. It still amazes me how much my videos have been out there and helping people to understand what they're doing. And it's unfortunate, as I've said before, that YouTube doesn't help me as much as I feel like they should be. But I understand as well. They're in it to make money for themselves. People want to be entertained for the most part. They're not here for me trying to explain things to them all the time. Some people just want to stare at the computer, and I get it. I watched an episode, a part of an episode of Vice Grip Garage, and it was just a whole bunch of randomness. It was he bought a car somewhere and drove it somewhere. I'm like, put some tires on it, change the oil, and I get it. It's like a TV show. People they want to watch and think this is entertaining, and that's fine. That's fine. But it has also led me to think about different ways, because I understand the point of my material is it's educational in most cases, but it's also repetitive. That's fine. It's what I do, and I'm not a comedian. I'm not cutting jokes. I'm like, here you go. This is what you need to do. Pay attention, But I've thought about the idea of doing something like a road trip type of thing, like Vice Grip does, where I could get the Model A out again and drive somewhere. Just drive somewhere and just show the countryside, do some stuff like that. I thought that might be at least interesting to some people, to see the functions of the Model A and to see what it's like to actually drive one. Another idea was somebody had told me would be a good idea was and I don't know how to label this, a destination video. Like if I were to be working on my Mach 1 and say, I have a timeline here, I want to have this ready to go by this time period so I can enter it in this event type of thing. I've had people suggest something like that. The difficulty is I'm doing stuff for other people, which is fine. That's what I'm here for. And so in doing that, I can't say, hey, I'm going to take 2 weeks or 3 weeks and just work on my car and make it do this. So I'm kind of caught in between all this, but it's fine. I understand it. And that's where I said I always appreciate my patrons keeping me going. Roberto Calderon. Hi, Barry. Here from Houston. Had a question. The hardener for my PPG epoxy is yellow. Does that mean it's bad, or can I still use it? Thanks for your help. That's a good question. I will say this. I have used hardener that had changed color. I had used it in I don't remember if it was PPG or another product. Now, it was also probably not something where I was doing one of these Mustangs. It might have been something completely different. I don't remember, but I do know I had some hardener that had changed color. I don't know that it affected it. It depends on there's a shelf life for this stuff. In fact, I had a friend come over today who is a avid painter, and we were talking about some stuff. He pointed out that when he opens up his hardeners, well, he closes them up and he puts them in the fridge. He keeps them cold so that they last longer. He didn't express a timeline as to when they might fail. But what I would do in your case, if you have something, you can do a test panel, spray it up, see what happens. You know, if it starts to peel or crack or something along those lines, that's probably definitely a sign that you've got problems. But I can't say for sure that it will be a problem because I've used it myself. I've used material that was out of date and had that yellow tint to it, and it still worked. So that's about as much as I can tell you on that. But great question, and glad you're here. David, I find the explanation to be entertaining. Learning is entertaining for me. Yeah, and some people that's a valid point. But some people, it depends on the generations too. Some people just. I watch, like, my grandson will be watching something on TV, and it's to me it's mind numbing. It's people pretending to play with like little toys and have conversations and talk and it's like they're not doing anything. But to his mind, it's entertaining. It's like creativity for him. And of course I'm well past him in age, so to me it's like, nope, if I'm going to be here, I need to learn something. I want to learn something. But there's a lot of society that's just they just want to stare at something and watch somebody do something and not really care about what's going on. So, and I get it. Rick Ain, Vice Grip Garage did a video where he revived a Model A and drove it hundreds of miles across the country with the help of Paul Shin. So I wouldn't even know who Paul Shin is. I mean, I know, Rick, you've sent me videos and I've watched videos that you've sent me, but I personally rarely watch other YouTube channels because I have too much to do. I've got stuff to do on my own. I have, work to get done. Occasionally I will look up a video if I need information. I was struggling with, as an example, I've been playing, you may not believe, you may do this too. I've been playing Rocket League on PlayStation. When I'm done for the evening, I go in the house and I play Rocket League. That's that soccer game with the little cars. And I wanted to use the headsets. And so I got a headset with a microphone on it. Not that I want to talk to anybody, but it has that. And I was trying to get that thing to work. Even my oldest son, who has done this sort of gaming thing, he couldn't get it to work. And so I Googled it. Sure enough, first video that pops up, this is what you need to do. Great. Hey, it worked. I got sound. I'm done. So if any of you are playing Rocket League, let me know. It's a fun game. It really is. Rick Folks, I need more bell. There you go. Ricky Folks, sorry. There's some bell for you. George Crackle, hi Barry. I agree completely with Bowler Hat Guy. I get it. I want to learn things. Rarely do I want to just. I don't really want to watch stuff that's not getting me some knowledge. Dave Tyson, I have PPG epoxy that I've had for about 20 years and I still use it. Well, there you go. But is the hardener okay? That's the question. Daryl Horvath, hello Barry, and all from Toronto. Hello Daryl, glad you're here. But yeah, we were talking about the videos, and here's something else that has come to mind, and this is going to sound odd because it is odd. I don't like reading books. I don't like reading. I mean, I read articles and stuff like that. If I need information, then I can pull it from an article. If it's a manual, I'm okay with it. I can read stuff and get the information I need and be able to process it and make things happen, right? And my wife, she loves to read. She loves to read books. She's always reading a book. And I discovered something. There's a term for people. I may have mentioned this before. Like if I close my eyes and I try to imagine a car or imagine if I were to try to imagine this Mustang, closing my eyes, I don't see it. I see black. There's nothing there. And it turns out there's actually a term for this, but I've never really thought about it before. And my wife was asking me the other day, she said, hey, because we had talked about this, and she said, if you read a book, she said, do you see what's going on when you're reading the book? And I'm like, no, I don't see anything. I mean, I'm reading words. And she says when she reads a book, she's got like a movie going in her head. And I'm like, I don't get that. I don't have it, right? So it's one of those weird things. And so whenever we're talking about information or knowledge, I would much rather read a manual and gain some sort of knowledge than to read a book and go, these are just words to me. I mean, I know it's a story. I know obviously what's going on, but I don't see any imagery. I don't see any things like that. So I thought that was one of those odd things. There's a term for it too. But like, go to bed, close my eyes. It's dark. There's nothing there. I don't see anything. Okay, so Dave Tyson says it's the same hardener he's been using for 20 years. Well, there you go. There's an answer to that. Michael Pagliarini says Destiny 2. Okay. Rick Stevenson, good evening, Barry. Better late than never. Okay, now I can get my first sip of coffee. Thank you, Rick. Rick has provided me with coffee for a couple years now. And he also says busy night at work. He says busy night at work. Glad you're here, Rick. Real Nautical Fishing. Hey, Barry and all. I have a set of original 67 fenders on my 68. They're in real rough shape, but I have a NOS pair to use for repairs. Should I start patching or just get a new set? Okay, so wait, I'm confused. You have a set of original 67 fenders on your 68. They're in rough shape. But I have a NOS pair to use for repairs. Why would you want to cut up some new old stock? Should I start patching or just get a new set? Maybe need to rephrase that question. Because if you have an NOS set, wouldn't you just want to use those? Unless maybe I'm confused by the question. So let's go with NOS first. And then rephrase that. But I'm glad you're here. Good question. Mr. Mikey, Cinco de Mayo, Mexicans beat the French, Battle of Pueblo, 1862, whilst the North and South were fighting each other. Well, thank you, sir, for that information. Dawn says, how about nonfiction books? You mean like a comic book or something? Or, I mean, you're talking about nonfiction. My mind just went to comic book. But yeah, like a Stephen King book or something like that. I've read one Stephen King book. It was called From a Buick 8, I think is what it was called. Good book. I enjoyed it. But it was just words. I mean, I can, it's weird in a way. I can see, like right now, I can imagine stuff from that book, sort of. But if I close my eyes, it all goes away. It's really weird. Richard, were you able to find the correct hood stencil for Slither? I did, and it turns out the stencil kit was actually for a 302 car, 302 Boss. From what I've gathered, what research I've gathered, I should say, it depends on what plant it was made in and what assembly line or what portion of that, where it was at on the assembly line. So if they were building a Boss 302 car and they had a Mach 1 right behind it, they would just use the same template. They just spray, move down the line. And so I think the original setup was supposed to be the 1/4 inch wide, and then the Boss 302 cars, because they're different, was 1/8 inch wide. So I'm going to replicate what was on the original car. I'm not going to change it to what would have been on a Mach 1. I think it just makes more sense to try to keep it the way it was made. Jack W. need to play PUBG. I don't even know what that is. Jack, you may have to send me a message or something. I don't know what PUBG is. The only reason I'm playing Rocket League is because my son downloaded it on the PlayStation, and I was like, oh, I should try that. Dave Tyson, when I read, all I see in my head is all the stuff I should be doing. Yeah, well, that's why I can't sit down and read a book. I'm just like, nope, I got things to do. Real Nautical, the NOS pair have their own set of issues, but not as bad, and I'm trying to make a good pair out of them. I've done some test fitting, and the originals seem to fit so much better. Okay. And I guess I'm confused because when I say NOS, those should be exactly the same as the originals, or better. Should be. So you have to make that decision. I don't know what's wrong with the NOS or whatever, but yeah, it's hard to give you an assessment. Like when I did Jade and I had a bad fender on the driver's side, somebody else had patched it up. They sell that piece for the 68. They sell that piece. They don't sell it for 69 that I can find, because I have a couple fenders on my Mach 1 that need that section, but they don't have it. And so I'm down to the point where I may cut up an aftermarket fender to get that piece and try to save that original. So, I can't say what's going to be your best decision. Fit is the priority over everything. And if that means you have to cut off parts of some that have their own problems to save the original, maybe that's the route you should take. Rick Watley, you should read I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell by Tucker Max. Okay. Okay. May have to look at that. Dawn, when you are fabricating, do you see the assembled unit as you go? That's an interesting point on that. I have, if I close my eyes, I must say, I don't think I can see what I'm trying to build, right? But if I have like this little phone holder, right, that Harvey sent to me, I can see this, and I can look at that and go, okay, I know what I need to do to make this. I can replicate this probably without taking really any measurements. I could get really close to having this done, or I can see this, but it's almost like I have to have my eyes open and envision the phone and what I want it to look like sitting on this. If I close my eyes, I don't really get either of these. I don't even see it. So it's weird. I can see it more with my eyes open, in a sense. And I've even was talking to my wife about it when I'm looking at, or let's say I'm trying to envision this little Hot Wheels car. I can close my eyes and I can almost make it make it happen, and then it's gone. It's just weird. It's a really weird thing. Art man, I can read articles and nonfiction, but if I try to read a novel or fiction, I find myself retaining absolutely nothing because I'm thinking about something completely different. Yeah, and that's pretty much where I am. I will read straight through something, like if I try to read a book, unless I'm really thinking about it, like the Smoky Eunuch book. I can read that, and to me there's so much valuable insight into him and what he did. But if I'm reading a book about, I don't know, Lord of the Rings or something, it just doesn't matter. It's just pointless. It just doesn't. I could read the page and come back and go, what was that about again? And I'd have to reread it because it just doesn't matter to me. It doesn't have any value. Gig'em Garage. Good evening, Barry. Kevin Barth here. Welcome, Kevin. Hope all is well. Now, some other things I wanted to talk about. The process on the Cobra Jet. I've been sanding and buffing, and I'm going to probably address some things that I am not completely happy with. Just because. There's the rear valance panel. It's actually sitting on the other side of this car. I'm going to redo it because it had some runs in it. And when I started, I knew I could get the runs out. But when I took it out in the sun, I'm looking at it. The flake didn't lay correctly the way I want it to lay. And I decided, you know what? I'm just going to sand this, get all the runs out, reprep it, and respray it. I'm probably going to re-clear the front valance panel. And I was disappointed with the mirrors, even though the color laid out right. There's some dry spots on the underside of the mirrors. So I'm going to redo those. Just a few things that are just going to have to get redone. I know when this car, when it leaves, I want it to be as good as I can possibly get it. And so I know I'm pickier than most people in this realm. So I just, so I've jokingly said this before. My friend Henry from Finland, when he's doing something and he says, I have to do it like this or I can't lay my head down or I can't sleep at night, basically what he says. And I'm kind of the same way. And I think about what's going to happen if I don't do this or if I do it this way. I need to sleep at night. So I have to I have to fix some things. Terry says, did your brother Hank hit you between your eyes sometime? Oh, I'm sure. He hit me a lot. Rick seems at least you're not redoing the entire car again. Yeah, that's, yeah. Daryl, if you're going to redo those panels, is there worry of paint match? Not on those panels because the flake right now, the flake that's on the rear valance, it just didn't lay right. And so if you remember when I sprayed the front and rear valance and the hood and the deck lid and the mirrors and the side vent pieces, which are now sitting up here. I did all those on the same time before I did the main car. And I tried to have them sitting in the proper angle to how they would be painted or, on the car. And it just didn't turn out right. There's splotchiness in the flake versus what's on the car, which laid out beautiful. And so either I would have to, especially on the rear valance, that's the worst piece as far as having a splotchy effect. So once I think I have everything sanded and prepped at this point, I will paint it rather than have it hanging up like I did before. I'll probably lay it down on a stand and just spray it like I would normally spray something. I think the effect will work. It's not going to make that much of a difference because these panels, when you're looking at them, you can't see the quarter. You can see the quarter and you can see the valance panel, but they're going different directions. So it really wouldn't make much difference if the flake was matched with this way and matched this way because they're not really up against each other. If it was a door to the fender to the quarter, yeah, that would be a bigger deal. But that's a good question, though. But I will get that addressed. I'm still hoping to have everything done by the end of May. That's the plan. And then I think what I'm going to probably do, I was looking up. I've talked before about maybe getting an enclosed trailer, and I happen to find a gentleman on Marketplace who will rent his enclosed trailer for a decent price, 24 foot. And I think what I'll probably end up doing is make arrangements with Tammy and take the car to her. Ideally, I want to be there when it's unloaded. And I don't want somebody showing up with an open trailer and loading this thing up and taking it away. I couldn't see that happen. It's got to go. To me, it has to go in an enclosed trailer. And again, I would like to be there when it's delivered, when it's unloaded, so she can see it and I can get, see her reaction, obviously, and the emotion that she'll have, I'm sure. But there's still more to do, obviously. I have to get the finish all the retouch work and the sanding and buffing, and then I'm going to have to fit the door latches and strikers and door handles and get the stripes on the car. That'll be fun. Putting those in place. We did that once. We put stripes on cars at the body shop years and years ago, and we added stripes to a 71 convertible, and it turned out really nice. So, what is everybody else working on is the question, or does anybody have any subject matter that they'd like to discuss? Oh, that's a good question. Daryl says, will you clear over the stripes? No. On these cars, they would not have done that because they didn't have base coat clear coat back then. And I couldn't see making it, trying to blend it in, because they're really thick. And I don't know, I venture that the reflective value would still work, but I don't want to hinder that. I don't want to have any issues with that. But I've seen people do stuff like that, but it's not something I'm interested in. I want it to look closer to the original style. The other thing I was looking at was the back of the car. And I know I'm gonna share some pictures to myself here in a minute, so that we can discuss some of this. Roger had sent me some pictures of a '69 Cobra Jet. He said it popped up on his on Google or something, and I want to talk about some things that I've seen here on these pictures, because there's certain things that look really good, and sometimes there's things that just don't look quite as good. Hey, Metco Man, do you think you had a surge of air pressure causing the metal flake issue? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think nope. Did I send it? Let me see if I sent it. Okay. I think it was just a matter of not having the gun in the right angle. Like, I tilted the valance panel under to try to mimic it being bolted on the car. And when I was spraying it, I think I just kind of hesitated. Like instead of walking it like I should have, I think I stopped, and when I did, it added more flake at that moment. Just added more to that area, and that really didn't help. So that's all I think it was. And then I was talking to my a friend of mine who paints all the time, and I was discussing with him some of the issues that I've run into with the texture in the clear coat. You know, because there's orange peel and stuff like that, and he had brought up the idea that the uh, air pressure may not have been high enough for the clear coat to atomize properly and flow correctly. Now he also pointed out that the the reducer that I used, I might have used a different reducer and had better luck. The there's the stuff I used was DT870, and he was saying that the 885 would have been a better choice, and I didn't have any of that, so I had to use my 870, and I also have 895. Why is this not coming up? Hold on. 895, but he said that wouldn't work for what I wanted to do. Okay, wait a minute. Now, why is it not? It's not letting me pull these pictures up. So something's not right. Hold on. I don't know where they went. Well, anyway, the air pressure could have been a problem, and then, like I said, the different reducer may have been a problem. Let me see if I can't. Here we go. I don't know why this isn't. Oh, it's probably going to a web page. It's using a zip extractor. That's the problem. Okay. I have one more thing that I can do to make this work. I'm going to cheat a little bit if I can and do a snip. Hold on. Okay. Now maybe I can do it. It gets confusing whenever you think you're going to get something with just clicking on it, but it doesn't want to do the job. Okay, here we go. This is what I was talking about. So on this layout of the yellow, because that's what it's going to be on the back of the Cobra Jet, I'm kind of torn on that. Like, I understand the premise, I understand the look of it, but it's also like doesn't exactly follow the shape like I thought it would, and the fact that it has Mustang on the deck lid, and that's how they came. I almost wish Ford would have redesigned that whole look, as in, instead of having the Mustang letters on the deck lid by itself, if they had just eliminated the Mustang letters and made the Mach 1 a wider stripe all the way around, and I think that would have looked a lot better, because it looks too busy. You've got the word Mustang, and then you've got Mach 1 above it, and it's two different scales. It's not the same font. It's, you know what I mean? It denotes it as being a Mach 1, but it also, I feel like it could have, like I'm sitting here right now, I don't have my eyes closed, I have my eyes open, and I can envision that stripe being wider across the tailgate and the extensions, and or tailgate, the deck lid, and the extensions, and just being a lot more visually appealing than what they did with it back then. So that was one of the things that I'm just kind of looking at it like, how could this be improved? And it would be one of those where you could almost redesign it yourself. But I think that's also a reflective tape. So, it's kind of hard to make those. Don's manufacturer, working on electronics, figure you don't want to broach that topic. Yeah, electronics, no, not so much. But you're probably working on guitars and amps and stuff like that. So I could probably deal with those better than car electronics. Mr. Mikey, how many seals and gaskets on a 67 8-inch rear end? How many? Well, you're going to have seals and gaskets. You're not talking about you have your bearing seals on the ends, right? You got your bearings, and you got your caps. And there's actually a gasket that goes between the end flange and the backing plate. So figure 2 and 2, right? Then you've got your main on the chunk, and then you've got another pinion seal, and then you've got another gasket up there where the ring gear or the pinion goes in. There's a seal. Yeah, so like 6, I think would be the answer. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 7. 7 is my guess. If we're doing trivia, I'm gonna say 7. See what anybody else comes up with. Real nautical. Can we go back to the fender subject matter? The fenders that I called NOS have 85 stamped in them, which makes me think that. What is your knowledge on the stamping of originals? 85 stamped? Are you talking about? Okay. So there's NOS and then there's reproduction NOS. NOS typically would mean the date codes are stamped on the flange up at the top where it meets the aprons. The repops of the original tooling were painted red and would have a date on the inside. If it had 85, but it says stamped, doesn't say, it's not, because like I said, the reproductions by Ford had like a red primer on the inside and a yellow stamping number system inside on top of that red. And people have been trying to cheat people by replicating that and making people think they're buying NOS fenders when they're buying Chinese fenders that they've just added the colors to it. And they only find out later that they're not right. So when you say it has 85, if it just has 85 on that upper flange, I don't know that I would say that's NOS, because there should be like probably 4 or 6 digits up on that flange, and I don't think 85 would be there. So I can't say those are actual NOS without seeing them. You could send me a picture and we could look at it, make an assessment. Michael, still pre-fitting the quarter panels and rear splash panel. Okay. Test fit. Real nautical, I believe original hood and deck lid should have stamping in a date format similar to the fenders. I would agree they should. They should. Rick Stevenson, I just did a tune-up on my F-250. That was not fun. Whoever put plugs in last time certainly did not use dielectric on the boots. Every plug wire fought me. Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all. Not at all. Gig'em, here is the site to order gobs from Johnstown, PA's Yost Dutch-Made Bakery. Yeah, it probably won't let you post that direct link. And I probably can't post it either, but it is. That's the name of the company. Johnstown, PA, Yost Dutch-Made Bakery. So if you want to order gobs, that's where you get them from. Unapologetic American. Hello, Barry. Sorry I'm late. Glad you're here. Wait, let me think. Hugh, right? I want to say Hugh. Tell me if I'm wrong. Daryl, that yellow decal is going to ruin the look. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I know that's what they did back then. And it's going to have the yellow on the sides, yellow and white stripes on the sides. And this is part of that kit. But I just, I don't know. It has to go on it because that's how they did it. Hugh says, any good at charging systems? Me? No. I mean, like electrical charging? Not really. Not really. It's always something that's gonna get me when I try to mess with that stuff. Hugh says, my 67 wasn't charging. Got a new battery, alternator, and regulator. Now it's overcharging. Check the grounds. I can't figure out the issue. The courtesy lights pulsate, but when I put it under load, it stops pulsating. Oh, so what you need to do is rig up some light bulbs that draw power, right? So you could put some lights underneath the car. There you go. They light up, and you're saving the charging system, and you're lighting up the underneath of your car like all the other people that light up their cars. So there's your answer. And Hugh says it's Hugh. Okay. Boondoggle. I've heard people sending you pictures, and you just mentioned that as an option again, but not sure how to send you a picture or your preferred method of that. So let me pop this up real quick. Bottom of the screen, that is my email. No apostrophe S, not J-O-E, J-O, Daddy's Garage at gmail.com. That's how you can get me a picture. Daryl says it's the voltage regulator. Probably so. Bullheart guy, how difficult would it be to remove the decal? Well, I have not installed the decal. That's the thing. It's not on the car, but it will be because that's how they came. And, it's going to be as original looking as I can get it. But it's a sticker. It's a sticker. So it's not like it's hard to, if you don't put it on, it's done. But it came that way. So it has to go on the car. It's just the way it is. Richard says the Yoast made bakery website doesn't work, and Yelp says the business is closed. I've heard that, and there is some sort of I think there's some way to get there. I don't know for sure. I know it's difficult. They run out of those things even in Johnstown where they're made. They can't keep up with the demand, which is amazing to me how much demand there is for those things. Don's Manufacturing, that is how the mechanical regulators work, unfortunately. Oh, talking about the being overcharged. He says the regulator gets its voltage reference from the ignition switch. If you have voltage drop, it will overcharge. Mechanical regulators are adjustable. So there's some answers for you, Hugh, from Don. And I'm sure Don has redone those things. And he says, unapologetic, or Real Nautical says, your new voltage regulator is bad. Buy a newer style from a Fox Body Mustang. Standard brand, though, through O'Reilly's has been great for the Mustangs. There you go. Another option. And Hugh says, my advice is as helpful as my own advice. I think I will drink another beer and think about it some more. Well, like Don said, you've got the regulator. Well, Dave Tyson says put the old regulator back on. But Don talked about the regulator gets his voltage reference from the ignition switch. So that's probably as much as I can tell you. I know that I've worked with some stuff before, replacing this or that and the other, and stuff wouldn't work, and I'd take it all apart and try again, and stuff wouldn't work, and I'd take it all apart and try again. only to find out it was the brand new part that I was installing that was defective. So that's why I get really frustrated with electrical stuff. It's you think you're doing something wrong. You think it's the wiring or something you missed or you didn't plug in, and it's the brand new item that's not working. It's nothing you did at all, but you pull your hair out just the same. Real Nautics says the Fox body regulator is electronic and no longer mechanical, which is how it's improved. Okay. Well, I guess couldn't you just put in a newer alternator? Like he said, a 610 wasn't charged. Got a new battery, alternator, and regulator. Okay, so I know for one of my purses, I'll probably put in a one of those one wire alternators and just bypass the firewall. I mean the core support mounted voltage regulator. Don says any transistor regulator will not surge. Larger alternator, 45 amp, will charge more at idle and will not surge. Thank you, Don. Rick Stevenson, new never ever works. Yeah. that seems to be the case a lot of times whenever you get something out of the box and you're like, how do I test this, right? But that's all we have, only choices we have right now. Richard, there was a time you could buy Ford tooling fenders for 65 to 6. There were some fitment problems with them, and the stamping dies were wearing out. Yeah. And anymore it's kind of a hit and miss scenario with the aftermarket stuff. That's for sure. And I've done videos on the fitting of fenders and the quality from different brands and stuff like that. Nothing beats original if you can get them. Daryl says exactly the one wire with the built-in regulator eliminates the problems with the firewall cubes. Yeah. Easy peasy, right? So we think. As long as it works. As long as that thing works, and we're set. It's all that matters. As long as it works, we're good to go. I keep checking to see if I'm getting any other pictures sent, just in case. But I don't know. Can y'all picture a different stripe on that thing, like a wider type of stripe or something? On the side of the car, it had the double lines. Let me see if I have, like this car. You had the wide stripe down the center, and then you had the loop, let's say, line that went around it, came forward on top and looped to the front where it says Mach 1 on the fender, and then looped back. And I would almost rather see something like that on the back of the car. But see, that's the yellow deal. And then like this one has the black with, the stripe that runs, front to back. I think I had another, I don't know if I still have a picture or not. Well, this is the original car. And you can see what's left of the stripe running down the side. And I probably have, I know it's other pictures and videos of with them from the back. But I would almost rather see that as a double wide, wide in the center and a top and bottom stripe that tapered together to a point. I feel like whoever designed that, they were limited by the shape of the car. Like when you look down the side, you've got a big flat panel, but on the trunk lid, you're 6 inches wide, the extensions go 6 inches, and then they slice down to a little. I say scissor, slice down or slim down to those tapered pieces that go down to the bumper. So you don't have a lot of room there to make something happen. But I could still see it differently. I could still see it as a wide single stripe, a line on top and a bottom, and it could curve around, and instead of going, be like almost like a teardrop. Instead of coming all the way down to the bottom where it meets the bumper, make it like a teardrop piece that comes together. Somebody make that. I could now that I can see with my eyes open, not with my eyes closed though. I know, weird. Hugh says the new alternator is 55 amp. The regulator is original style Motorcraft, made in China, of course. Robert, I'm not a fan of the yellow stripe, but the black is okay. Yeah, and I know that you couldn't put the black stripe on the black Jade car. It just wouldn't. It has to have an opposite look for it to pop. But I don't think there was any other. There might have been a white version too. I think there was black, a white, and the yellow, and I don't know of any others that were made for that. Real Nautical, I've been watching a bunch of the graveyard car shows and would love to see someone do the same thing with Fords instead of Mopars. Makes me wonder if there's piles of books he has exist for Stangs. Yeah, maybe. Mopar's a whole different breed. Daryl Horvath, Barry, I have an OEM turn signal hood for my 67, but it's twisted. Would you use a pair of 2x4s and twist it back, or separate it and weld it back together? That's a good question. It's hard to assess that without seeing it. I would probably try to twist it back. You cut it apart. That may not alleviate the problem, but it might. The aftermarket hoods they're like you could twist them all over the place. The original ones should be welded, so yeah, I would probably try to twist it back and see what happens. That's what I would try. Artman, can you make the 1970 Mach 1 decal work? I don't even. I'd have to look at what that looks like. Huh. That's, it's funny. That's well, somewhat, now that I look at it, somewhat what I had in mind, but my design would have had more of a teardrop, bring it down around the corners. See, that makes more sense. But the big problem right now is the fact that not only does the 69 have the letters in the deck lid, but you can't, after looking at that 70, I'd have to do something different. I'd almost have to make my own shape, because that being flat all the way across, that's not the answer either. I think it still needs to curve down at the ends, give it a little pizzazz. So, sort of like the 1970, but tape come down, little teardrops on the end. So yeah, Art says can combine. Yeah. But see, the problem again, I put the letters back because that's where they go. So you have to work around those letters. So it's going to have to stay the way it was. Dawn says ghost stripes would have been cool. They would have, especially if you could make them reflective like the original. But still, give it a silver, like the car is black jade. So if you could do a silver, maybe pearl or something, to where you could paint that and you could catch the light, and it would just give you a little glow to it with a pearl effect. That would have been cool. Not going to happen. And Robert says same thought. Yeah. Richard, I agree on the Ghost Stripes, Dan and Robert. Yeah. Or Don and Robert. Yeah. Now I'm you're getting my mind spinning some gears here because this is my Mach 1 is supposed to have that look to it. Yeah, that's what it's going to be. I'm not gonna mess with the stripes on that car. When I paint my car, it's going to look basically exactly like that. The only difference is the hood scoop's going to be the regular Mach 1 hood scoop. Otherwise, the stripes, the wing on the back, that's the image of what my Mach 1 is going to look like. Just have to keep that image. Mark says the letters really clutter up the tail panel. Yeah. It's just I don't. There's too much going on. There's just too much going on. But as I said, it's original, so it's going to stay that way. I can't vary from that now. Roger, we have decal places in town that do the stealth reflective markings for police cars. Yeah, I can't mess it up. I have to leave it the way it was made. It's got to look stock. But it's not to say that I couldn't do something with, my Mach 1 later. Maybe. That would be interesting. Do my own graphics for my Mach 1. Instead of Mach 1, it says Joe Daddy. People would look at that and go, "What?" Yeah, it's the Joe Daddy Mustang. What's funny about it? I look at my Mach 1, and I do have occasional visions of things that I want to change or customize, but then I also know that I'm more in this sense a purist as far as the shape and how things play out. I saw the other day somebody is making a replacement side vent that actually sits flush instead of sitting outside the panel like they all do. It sits flush in the pocket. Because I've seen other people that have taken the original vent and reworked it to where they could get it to sit flush, and I was like, that would be incredible. I don't like that thing sticking out. It just doesn't make sense. They should have made it flush when they built the car. There's no reason why it shouldn't have been. They could have easily stamped that to have that recess, but instead that piece sits flush at the front and then sticks out all the way around. So I saw somebody makes a replacement piece, but it's not like the original. It doesn't have the big opening in the middle. It has a rib, so it has. It looks like this, but it has a rib right in the middle here, which I guess isn't such a bad idea. But yeah, they could have definitely made those sit flush in the quarters, and it would have looked better. But they probably didn't really care. Robert, I guess back in '69 they had to put Mustang all over because no one knew what Mustangs looked like. I never understood all that on the car. Yeah. That's a lot of what happens. Is they just have to put the name everywhere. So I had another picture sent to me. See if I can upload it. I think I have enough room. So I was talking about the stripes earlier and how I just haven't seen other choices. Like I've seen black, white, and the gold, and as Marcus sent me, they had red too. And I just really hadn't thought about it. And it says he says the car was originally gold, but it was painted black during the restoration. Are the red stripes a factory color? I'm going to say they probably are, because they have the right color look to them. You know, the stripe is showing some variation in the gold on the side. So I'm going to say that was probably an original option. I have not looked up the different colors that were available, but they do have them available on eBay. You know, you can buy those kits and stuff, and NPD and wherever. And Dave says stripes were big back then. Yeah. Black with a red stripe looks cool. It's definitely a different look. It draws your eye to that center of the car for sure. But I also look at that and I think, you know, they put it from the fender wheel arch back, and I guess it's fine. You wonder sometimes, could they have brought it all the way to the front? Would that have helped? Would that have changed anything? Would it have made it look, you know, better or worse? Because like you look at, where's that other one? Like this one, and the yellow stripe starts at the fender and works your way back. So it may not have helped to have that up front. I guess with the word Mach 1, I wonder if they experimented with that and had Mach 1. Let's say they took the stripe all the way to the front fender and tried to put Mach 1 in that front section. That wouldn't have worked. There's not enough room. So maybe that's why they just said, hey, we'll just start here. And it looks fine. I got no problem with that. Just wonder about the styling cues, what they used for reference. Gigam says, Barry, what do you think about the dynacorn full bodies for sale? That's a good question. I've had people who have firsthand knowledge of those bodies who have tried to buy them and build them as they receive them. And they have to take them back apart, is what I've been told. And I know one for a fact. I saw the body. That was a 68. The guy had bought it thinking, I'm just going to swap VINs, put the car together, and be done. They couldn't get anything to fit. Like, they had to take the roof loose, take the quarters back off of the car, and re-index them because they weren't sitting right. And the problem was they tried to fit doors, and they tried to fit glass, and they said it was just nothing fit. So they had to take it apart and then redo it the right way. So that's the knowledge that I have of these. Now, have they changed in the last couple of years? I don't know. I can't say for sure. I also can't say whether some of these shops that are buying these cars maybe just slather them up with body filler and make the shape the way they want it and go, it's good to go. See ya. You know, I don't know. But I do know people have had to take them back apart and put them back together the right way. Good question. Thank you. Dave Britton checking in from the Great White North. We're getting close to closing time, by the way, Dave, but I'm glad you're here. Mark says it was a pretty nice car, 4-speed too. Talking about this one, yeah. Yeah, and it's got the shaker hood on it, from what I can see. So that's pretty cool. Door Horvath, better than wood paneling like Dodges. Yeah. Yeah. Sobtech, remember the kind of rainbow-like stripe on the side of a Torino? Yes, I do, actually. Rusty's restoration matches red stripes on the seat. Yep. Nice. That's a good point. Artman, I don't really like stripes, but everyone with stripes has a way nicer car than I do. Hey, Mac Man, for 69, three colors: black, gold, red, gold, gold, white. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Boondoggle. A while back, I seem to remember you talking about considering a new logo. Any updates on that, or not a current priority? I actually have. Uh, I have. Let me see if I can find it, because I had one that I have up here on this right now. Let me see if I have it up here or not. If this will pop up. No. Um, I've had some stickers remade or made of one of them, and it's not this one. Or actually, maybe it is that one. Now that I think about it, let me look. Yeah, that has the double hood scoop. So I've had that remade into stickers, and I also had a sign made, like a Lexan sign. So I may get some of that made into a um, uh, bigger image at some point, but that's what I've come up with. I'd looked at some other stuff, like this. This was an idea, but it's I like the car. The car looks pretty cool, but it just doesn't work for the logo idea. This was much better. So that's what I'm working towards on that one. Dave Britton, believe me, I would rather have been here. Was called to unplug a toilet at my in-laws. Yeah, that's no. And Dave Britton, it's odd since you painted 69. It seems like that color keeps popping up online all the time now. Okay. I'm not surprised. Roger said it popped up on his something with background or imagery or something as an ad. I got to pull this banner down. It's getting to me. Let me see. Wait a minute. Roger said, Dave, I found it out that the Black J69 popped up in my Google feed as well. So there you go. Bowler Hat says, put it on a tin sign, David. Yeah, I'll probably do something like that. Like I have this is a banner piece up here that says Joe Daddy's Garage. And I wanted to see what it looked like. So that's why I did the stickers first, which are kind of small. I needed maybe bigger ones. And then I had the Lexan sign, which is about that big. And so I may look at seeing if I can get it, bigger imagery like that one up there. And Boondoggle, I'm ways to go before I can ever even really think about paint, but I like to go black, black, black with my 66 coupe, no stripes, gold logo, looks good. Okay. The cars better be smooth for triple black. Better be smooth. And I'm going to go into a little junkyard story time here. And I don't know if I talked about this yet or not. I know I posted it on Facebook, and I don't remember if I talked about this. Basically, y'all know that I grew up. My dad had a junkyard up in Pennsylvania, and my brother took over that place in 1980, late 1988, early 89. Took it over. My parents had moved to another house. My brother took over the junkyard, and he operated it as a junkyard for years. And then sometime in the I'm guessing early 2000s, maybe in mid 2000s, he had started shutting it down. Like he didn't want to operate it anymore. And so he was getting rid of all kinds of stuff. And anyway, a few years back, my brother passed away, as I've mentioned. And my brother's, how do I put it? Widow inherited the place, unfortunately. And so I was up there just a couple weeks ago, or well, 3 weeks ago, I think it was, at the junkyard. And I've shared these pictures before. Let like here. So this picture, that's the house I grew up in, and that was the tank retriever my dad had for moving cars around. And if you see the block wall to the left of the tank, that was the garage, and that was the first wall closest to the house. And then he built this garage himself, so it was a big garage. I think that's the only shot I have on my files for the junkyard. But anyway, my brother's widow took over the place and elected to sell off everything and sell off everything my brother ever owned after he passed away. And there's a lot of conflict with that, and there was issues with it because they were only married like not even 6 months. And so she didn't have any skin in the game, so to speak. But she sold off everything, and we were unable to even buy it off of her. She wouldn't sell it to us, our family anymore. Complicated story. And I'd gone up there a few times, and I've shot video there. I've taken pictures there, and my brother's ashes are at that place. That's where his ashes are dumped there. Well, she sold that place to a local company that cleans coal. So coal mining is a big business up there, and this company has a business that makes a lot of noise. And so they tried to buy properties around them so that nobody could move in and complain about the noise. And they've been after my brother's property, the junkyard, for years. And he always refused to sell it to them. He's like, no, this will never happen. Unfortunately, he passed away, and his spouse elected to turn a tidy profit and sell it off. So they left the garage up. They left the house up. All the whatever cars were there were all gone. It was just basically the garage and the house. And we'd gone up there a few times, and we were able to get in there. And there were still like personal items in there from our family. And we were unable. We probably could have taken a bunch of things out, but at the time we were not prepared to do that sort of thing. And so we just kind of let it sit because the guys we talked to said, yeah, it's just going to sit here. We're not going to do anything with it. It's going to stay the way it is. We can deal with it later, blah, blah, blah. So I was up there in weekend of April 10th, and I'd taken pictures of it. I made a video, and I shared it with my patrons, and everything was still there the way it was. And then 2 weeks later, I get some pictures, and then they destroyed it. They ripped the whole place down, from what I can tell. I didn't get all the pictures, like the complete destruction of it. But this is a farmhouse that was built in either the late 1800s or the early 1900s, and it's gone. So this old farmhouse is gone, along with I assume it looked like they were destroying the garage as well. I can't say 100% for sure, but at the minimum, the house is gone. So any connection now with that place just feels like it's well past, gone. So I always wanted to go up there, and I would visit just to reminisce. And of course, like I said, my brother's ashes are at that place, but now there's nothing. They destroyed it all. And I have his so-called widow, the inheritor of everything he ever owned, who took the money and run, so to speak. And anyway, just letting you know, junkyard is gone, and it's not going to be the same going up there. Not going to be the same going up there anymore. So anyway, that's the end of my junkyard story. I know I've made I talked about junkyard stories before and good times and stuff like that, but this one is just not good. So let's see here. Richard Vogel, where did you find the Mach 1 hood stencil? It was on eBay. I found a seller on eBay that had it. And the company, let's see if it has a name on here. Graphic Express Stripes and Decals was the name of the company. And they had this is the regular Mach 1 stripe kit with a quarter inch, but there's their logo says Graphic Express is the name of them. So I'd ordered this kit first and realized it was wrong, so I ordered the 302 Boss kit. This kit, if it stays intact, because I was thinking about this the other day, if it stays intact and doesn't deteriorate, or if I don't decide to sell it, I had somebody ask me if I want to sell it. I may just keep that for my Mach 1, because the quarter inch gap is not a big deal the way I look at it. Uh-oh, there we go. Darrell Horvath, neon after for your sign. Yeah, that would be a good idea. Art man, sorry about, yeah, thank you, sir. Dave Conville, there's something great about the sentence, the tank my dad had to move cars around. Yeah. Yeah. There is something great about that. Dave Conville, sorry about the turn of events with the homestead. Yeah, me too. Roger, they can't destroy memories. No, they can't. No, they can't profit from those. They can't profit from the memories of my brother passing. They can't profit from that. But she sure did cash out. Let me tell you. Built a new house too, by the way. Dave Britton, I drove past our old junkyard a couple years ago and our shop is gone and a brand new home stands in its place. Yeah. Well, there won't be any houses built where we're at. So I know that much. Mark says, sorry for your loss, Barry. It's a shame you had to go through that. Yeah, believe me, had I known they were going to tear it down, I would have made an effort to get stuff out of there, because there were actually cabinets that I made as a teenager for my mom that were still in that house. They were like a hutch type of thing that I built from poplar in school. I built this nice hutch for her, and we thought we'd still have some time to get up there, maybe get that out of there. It's all gone. It's all gone. Hi, Shane. Says, hi, Barry. How are you? Welcome, Shane. And sorry to say, but I'm going to end up closing out at this point. I've been at this for an hour and almost 40 minutes. So it's been a good night. I did, just wanted to share some stuff about the junkyard and the fiasco that has become. But, life goes on. We can't hold on to everything. We all know that. We can't keep every single thing we've ever done or anything our family has given us. It just doesn't happen. There's the artifacts of our lives only really mean stuff to us and maybe one generation past us. After that, it's like, what am I going to do with this? So it's just not worth it dwelling on it. So anyway, that'll be it for tonight. I do plan to be back next Monday at 7 o'clock once again. That'll be, the 12th, I believe. I think. So I hope everybody has a good week, and that'll be it for tonight. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.